welcome to Debbie's Back Porch again tonight. So glad to have you. We're gonna bake a hen tonight, and I'll tell you just a little bit about that. And it's not the time of year I'm gonna cook a turkey, but baking a hen is the same as cooking a turkey. Just doesn't take quite as long. So I'm gonna prepare this hen almost exactly the way I would my turkey. Now I'm specifically saying a hen, a baking hen, because they're generally bigger than if you go and buy a regular chicken, a frying chicken. There's lots of videos and recipes for a roast chicken, but this one is a little different. It's bigger. You can't just throw it in the oven at 450 degrees. If you did, it would burn it on the outside and not get done on the inside. So we're going to roast this the way I would roast a turkey, at a little bit lower temperature for a little bit longer. And I'm going to make a little bit of stuffing. Not exactly like I would make it Thanksgiving, but pretty close to it. So let's get started and we'll bake a hen. So we're going to start with our stuffing. The ingredients for our stuffing is what I have in here is some leftover bread. This is cornbread and this is some toast that I toasted just for this, but it was kind of stale bread. And I don't know how to tell you how much it is. It's 2.5, 3 cups when you crumble it up. I have some of my home-dried sage. This is a little bit of red pepper and a little bit of celery. This is a half an onion. And this is about a 1/4 cup of mushrooms. And I have here the other half of the onion not sliced up. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. So let's start. Oh, you'll also need some chicken broth. I don't know exactly how much. I'll have a quart. I'll be working from a quart and I may end up using about half of it. And 1 egg. So let's start the dressing or the stuffing. According to where you live, it depends on what you call it. Well, here I have a 1/2 stick butter in my cast iron skillet. I'm going to add, I've got it, it's just warm, it's not real hot. My onion, that was a 1/2 a large onion. A little sliver of red pepper, 1 stick of celery, and about a 1/4 cup of mushrooms. Now these are going to be the veggies that will be in our stuffing. And I'm going to put a healthy sprinkle of fresh sage. And, you know, this is to taste, but I like a healthy sprinkle of this. It's not fresh, it's dried, but I dried it here. And I have a video to show you how to do that. About a 1/2 teaspoonful of salt. And about a 1/4 teaspoonful of red pepper flakes. We're just going to let this sizzle a while, and when it gets translucent and it starts letting go its flavors, we'll go forward with making our stuffing. Okay, here's our bread. While the vegetables are sizzling, simmering, I'm going to crumble up this bread. And this is about half and half cornbread and toast. I just put this in the oven. This is just regular bread. And you can do this however you like it. You can use all cornbread. You can use some stuffing that you buy at the store. But I had this, so I'm using it. So I have here some of my home canned turkey broth. I said chicken broth, but I use them interchangeably. And I'm just going to pour enough. I want it to soak it up. So I put about a pint in, and I'm going to let it sit for a few minutes and let it soak it. Let the breadcrumbs soak up the broth. And this is sort of your basic plain stuffing. You can make 100 variations. I actually thought about stuffing this hen with oranges and apples, but I thought, no, I'll just make a traditional stuffing. And we'll talk about other kinds of stuffing in another video. Okay, so those are nice and moist. And here I have 2 eggs. Whoops. That one escaped. I said 1 when I was showing the ingredients, but I looked at this and decided it needed 2. Okay, and here are our lovely toasted vegetables. Okay, we're going to set these aside. It actually has a really good smell. You can smell that sage. And of course, you could saute onions and put them on cardboard and they would taste good or smell good. So we're going to set this to the side and then we're going to get our hen. Well, here's the star of our show. This is a baking hen, and I told you it was a little bit different than just going to buy a chicken. If you just go buy a whole chicken, generally that's a fryer. It's a younger chicken. It's going to weigh 4, maybe 5 pounds. 4, more close to 4 usually. This weighs 7.5 pounds. It's a baking hen. They're generally older chickens. They have to be cooked a little bit slower. You cook it more like you do a turkey. When you get it, it'll have the giblet package in it, and you can either put that in the freezer to add to your bone broth you're going to make later, or you can go ahead and boil those giblets and make the broth to make your dressing. But just like you would, or gravy, just like you would your turkey. So what I'm going to show you here is pretty much how I do my turkey. It's just that the time will be a little bit different. So just a few safety warnings about working with poultry. I have a glass cutting board that I generally use with poultry. Get out what you're going to need so that you're not going back and forth with your hands touching different things in your kitchen once you're working with poultry. I have somebody with me. If I forgot something, I'll get her to hand it to me. But I think I've got what I need. USDA says not to wash poultry because of the splash. I generally do a brine and kind of wash them in a brine, but carefully. And then you don't have to go crazy with this, but you do need to be careful with poultry because grocery store poultry can often have pathogens that you kill them when you cook, but you don't cook your counter and you don't cook your cutting board. So you want to be kind of careful. So the first thing about cooking this particular bird, you should know I let it sit out an hour. It's totally thawed through. I did buy it frozen, or I did freeze it when I bought it. I let it thaw out in the refrigerator, and then so that it was totally thawed out, and then I put it out on the counter for 1 hour because you want to bring it up closer to room temperature before you start cooking it, and that's pretty important because otherwise you can get tough spots in your bird or birds that don't get all the way done. So if you have a frozen bird, turkey or chicken, make sure that you set it out a little while ahead of time to come to room temperature. See what a nice fat bird we've got there? I'm drying her off because, as I've told you many, many times, wet meat can't get brown. And I have here a couple of little spots because sometimes when you get them, they still have little pin feathers on them. If you ever buy a kosher turkey or a kosher chicken, they're going to be just covered in pin feathers. Okay, I have here, I'm not sure you can see it, but I have my dry rub that I've made, which is basically half salt, half brown sugar, or in my case, artificial brown sugar, and some herbs of my choice. This has a little dry mustard in it and a little bit of oregano, dried from my garden. If you don't have this, you can use plain kosher salt, and it'll work just as well. So we start out with, we're going to oil this a little bit, and I have sunflower oil. You can use melted butter. But our goal here is to make not just a tasty bird, but a pretty bird. And the dry rub or the salt, whichever you choose to use, helps with both. Now some folks loosen this skin and put butter underneath it. You can do that if you like. I don't. I want this skin to brown and crackle, and it'll seal in the flavor. That's your preference. So I have my dry rub here, and I'm going to sprinkle it on pretty heavy and rub it into all the crooks and crannies. You're really going to give your bird a nice massage. Turn it over. A little more oil. And dry rub. If you wanted to make a special dry rub for poultry, you might put some of your nice dried sage in it. Now you know I have people in and out. I have dogs. I have machines running, so just don't pay any attention. Okay, now we want to make sure we get the dry rub or salt, whichever you're using, down in the cavity. And I'll tell you, I've told folks this before, but this may be your first time watching one of my videos. The purpose of oil and salt on meat is, number one, to make sure that it's good and dry. Meat cannot brown unless it's good and dry. The salt doesn't dry out your piece of meat. It dries out the surface of the piece of meat, which aids it in browning. So this bird has had a great massage. She's all oily and salty. So in the neck, I put the half a piece of onion. And in this cavity, I'm going to put the stuffing. And I hope it's cooled off enough. And in case that worries you, that's a glass container. So it can be easily washed off and sterilized. So we're just going to stuff this in. And I've probably made way too much. And if I do this on Thanksgiving, we take what's left over and put it in a baking dish and bake it in the oven and call it dressing. It may be a southern thing, I don't know. And I've got some juice coming out. Oh, it's so messy. And I have here some cooking twine. And I'm going to tie the legs together. I'm not going to truss the whole bird. I'm just going to tie the legs together. You can, though, you can truss the whole bird. I don't care if some of this comes out. I'm not very good at tying things up, so I'm just going to tie these legs together and so that I can hold most of that stuffing in there. going to clean up a little bit and I'll be right back. Too messy to work. Okay, let's talk about what you're going to cook your chicken in. We're going to roast it, and roasting is generally open, not covered. You could cook it in a covered roaster if you want to. You could cook it in your electric roaster. What I have here is a 12-inch cast iron skillet, and I'm going to cook this breast side up. And this particular bird came with its wings already trimmed off. Well, one wing is trimmed off and one is not. But you want to tuck those in a little bit. I'm still finding pin feathers. I can't tuck the other one in because it's been cut off. But I do this because I don't want it to sit in its own juice. I want the juice to fall down below the rack. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. Some folks will make some thick onion slices and let it sit on the onion slices and then eat the onion slices when you're done because it'd be yummy. But I'm going to save the juice that cooks out. We're going to put this in the oven at, I've got the oven preheated to 450, but I'm not going to cook the bird at 450. I'm going to put it into a really hot oven at 450 and then turn it down to 350. And the guideline says 20 minutes per pound plus 15 minutes. So if you start out with the hot oven, then you don't have to add that extra 15 minutes, and it starts you getting a little browning. So we're going to put this bird in to the 450 oven, turn it down to 350, and then let's see, this is 7.5 pounds, so you've got about 2.5 hours, and I'll set my timer, but I will watch it before that. In the meantime, we'll make some more stuff to go with dinner. Okay, we're not quite at the 2.5 hour mark, but I don't want to overcook it, so I've taken it out and we're going to check it. So have your meat thermometer, and you stick it into the thigh and avoid the bone. And we're looking for between 160 and 170. So we're right at 160. If you don't have a meat thermometer, or if you just want to check it quickly, break the skin, and if the juice runs clear right here around the thigh, then your bird is done. And I don't know if you can see, I'm never sure what you can see, but the juice runs clear. This bird is done. I'm gonna loosely tint it with some aluminum foil and let it sit for about 20 minutes before we cut it. And while it's sitting, I'll make us a little gravy. And here's the skillet that I cooked the chicken in. And the bits are very brown. Normally, if I were making chicken gravy or turkey gravy, I would want to keep it a nice light color. But I'm just not willing to give up that wonderful flavor that's down in there. And I've taken some of the fond out. And what's left down in there is about a 1/4 cup of chicken fat that's cooked right out of that pan. So I have here a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. You can use flour, but if you use the cornstarch and not flour, or not self-rising flour, you need to add a little salt. So let's stir it, stir it, stir it. Now, let me say again, this is going to be a very dark roux, and normally for chicken or turkey or poultry, you stay with a light roux. This is a dark roux because this is our baking dish. And the flavor is going to be so great. And you know, we talk all the time about one of the reasons for cooking from scratch is to layer your flavors. Well, I could just empty that pan and wash it, but then, oh my, all that wonderful flavor was gone. I'm going to add about a pint of the chicken broth. This was some fresh chicken broth that I had made. And yeah, there was a little bitty touch of fat in it. That's alright. That's chicken schmaltz. That's good. This is going to look to you like a brown gravy, but it's going to taste... it's going to taste like baked chicken gravy. I'm going to let that thicken up a little bit. And we'll be ready to plate up our baked chicken dressing or stuffing and this yummy gravy to go with it. I'll be right back. Okay, well, that's a pretty bird if I do say so myself. Let me take this string off. And let's see what we've got. See, I can see the juice running when I cut. And this was started off at a high heat, down to 350, about 20 minutes a pound. You can't cook this bird, this hen, the way you cook many of the roasted chickens. And I did it this way particularly because I wanted to show you how I cook a turkey. And there's no bag, no brine. There was just chicken. Let me taste a little bit of this. I swear, that melts in your mouth. So let's serve just a little bit of this up. You know, it's not Thanksgiving, but it's mighty close. We're going to get a little of this stuffing out. Slice us a little of this wonderful chicken. When you have a bird this big, 7.5 pounds, it's one that you can slice like a turkey. And we're going to drizzle just a little of this dark turkey gravy over it. And just to please Fred, a little cranberry sauce on the side. I'm going to serve this with one of these lovely fondant potatoes. And once again, That's a meal fit for any king or queen or domestic goddess. I hope you enjoy. I hope you try this. See you again tomorrow.